you know, getting out in the cold weather to make it here tonight. I appreciate you coming out. For those of you who don't know, that's Commissioner Macy. All right, we're going to call to order the December 11th, 2017 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to start with the invocation, and then we're going to follow up with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. We gather here this evening as representatives of our beloved city to discuss, debate, and decide upon the issues before us. We ask for wisdom, compassion, and understanding to inform every decision we make in pursuit of our purpose. As the weather turns, we ask that each of us be mindful of our responsibility to those less fortunate, and remember that each person in our community is equally as important and valuable as the next person. Let us express our gratitude for the men and women, both in uniform and not, that tirelessly serve our city and help maintain the high quality of life we all enjoy. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. That brings us to number 4 on our agenda. The presentation of a check to the Michigan World War II Memorial.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Last summer, Sergeant Robinson from the Pontiac Recruiting Company came into my office and asked how they could be more involved in our community, and with that, a WROK March was born. We held a WROK March on Veterans Day. The sponsor was the Royal Oak Community Coalition, and I'd like to invite Lisa from the coalition to talk a little bit about what we did and how much money we raised. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Davids.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Lisa Manganello from the Royal Oak Community Coalition. The coalition's mission is to partner with our city, our schools, businesses, and the community in general to provide engaging and inspiring prevention programming to help our community stay safe and stay healthy. When the coalition was asked by the city to be the sole sponsor of the 2.2-mile WROK Run to honor our veterans, the coalition was truly, truly honored to be part of this really important day. In case any of you do not know what a WROK Run is, it is when our military service members have a very heavy backpack and do like those quick steps that run, jog. And our participants who took part in the walk, or the WROK Run, also had packs filled with donations, so it was a really symbolic event. The event raised over $1,500 for the Royal Oak World War II Legacy Memorial, secured donations for our veterans and their families, and also served as a very important reminder that even our heroes need help. For instance, every day in our country, we lose 22 veterans to suicide. So that's why the 2.2 mile was a very important number and the message behind the event. This event, along with others, helped support this worthwhile cause, and the Royal Oak Community Coalition was really and truly honored to be part of it, so thank you.
Thanks, Sergeant Robinson. And can everybody introduce themselves just really quickly?
I am Sergeant Robert Robinson with the Fournier Recruiting Company.
Hi, I'm John Mayton. I'm the treasurer of the Michigan Legacy World War II Memorial.
I'm Judy Mayton. I'm a board member from the Michigan World War II Legacy Memorial.
Kim Jones. I'm a board member with the Michigan World War II Legacy Memorial.
And I'd just like to mention really quickly, we had 225 people participate, and we raised a van load full of canned goods and supplies. And now at this point, we're going to present a check for it.
First of all, I'd like to thank, on behalf of our board, Kim, who really did all the work of organizing this for us. And we felt, obviously, it was very important for us to not only honor the people that are currently serving, but also those that have served in the past, as we try to raise the funds to build the World War II Legacy Memorial at 13 Mile and Woodward. So we thank that for everybody that participated, and also the additional donations we received from this, and look forward to many more events in the future. So thank you.
Mr. Maiden.
I just wanted to add thanks to all the veterans that came out, the American Legion, the VFW, and also Carol Hennessy for her support. She's worked with veterans groups for many years, and we really appreciate her help as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's great to see support for so many causes coming together. I can tell you it was overwhelming seeing the amount of contributions for our veterans in the bins after the WROK run, and it was pretty it was heartwarming, to say the least. And I think, you know, the World War II Legacy Memorial is certainly going to be an important part of Royal Oak's future. And so the fact that we're continuing to place focus on it is going to be great for this city, and certainly great for those who have served us, and remembering and honoring them. So thank you for all your support. All right, this brings us to item number 5, which is public comment. Just a few guidelines related to public comment. Of course, the City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related issues, both on the agenda and not. I ask that your comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. Tonight, public comment will be the only time to address the City Commission on the agenda, as there are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. If you wish to speak tonight, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor, then come up to the podium. For the record, we are going to need you to state your name and address. And please be mindful that the City Commission wants to hear from everyone who wishes to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 5 minutes or less, and there's a timer at the podium to help you keep track of time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, that's all right. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us via email, telephone, or if you see us on the street and want to pick our brain on something, feel free to do so. Please note that the City Commission won't respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes, and we'll address those questions when the agenda topic is discussed. And for things that are discussed brought up at public comment that aren't on the agenda, we are taking notes, and we'll follow up with the appropriate city department and do our best to address the issue. And also, our city manager is taking copious notes over here. Sometimes people think he's playing, you know, Minecraft or Solitaire. Not the case. I peek over there, and he's taking pretty detailed notes. And so, with that, who's first? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Jan Bills. I am a Royal Oak resident of over 30 years. And as you may recall, I spoke last year at a meeting regarding rat control and owl houses. So to my surprise and delight, many residents were intrigued and very interested in learning more about owls and rat control. The responsiveness from citizens has not diminished. There is an overexcitement about the owls, and have led to conversations about rat control. I'm here tonight to share with you a project that a group of us are working on. It's a citizens movement, which I am sure will please the city. But first, for any newcomers, I would like to share some information about rats, their habits, and the challenges we face in our community. Did you know that a rat can squeeze through a pipe the width of a quarter, scale a brick wall straight up, fall off a 5-story building and land safely on its feet, rear up its hind legs and box with its front paws, speak to other rats 40 to 50 feet away with high-pitched sounds human ears cannot detect, tread water for 3 days and survive being flushed down the toilet, then return via the same route. Yes, rats are smart, resilient, and very challenging. Unfortunately, there's more disturbing rat news. Their front teeth grow 4.5 to 5 inches each year. Rats wear them down by continuously gnawing on everything around them, including cement, brick, wood, lead pipes, and yes, your car wires. A female rat can mate as many as 500 times with various males during a 6-hour period, which happens about 15 times a year. A pair of rats can produce as many as 2,000 offspring in a year if the breed is left unchecked. Lastly, rats are vehicles for many diseases to humans, and pets are susceptible. It is imperative we control the rat population in around our homes and our city. Some diseases rats transmit to humans include bubonic plague, rat bite fever, salmonella, and tapeworm. There are many ways humans or pets can contract the diseases from rats, including rat bites and scratches, ingesting contaminated food or water, inhaling contaminated dust, direct contact with an infective rat and bites from infected fleas, ticks, or mites. The most dangerous form of rat control is poisons. That's why anticoagulants and other rat poison products designed to kill rodents are also killing birds of prey, pet dogs and cats, many species of wildlife, including several endangered species. These products are also poisoning children. Even when the products are used in accordance with the directions on the packages, according to the EPA, between 1999 and 2003, 25,549 children under the age of 6 had poisoning symptoms after exposure to rat poisons. Now, I realize this information is overwhelming. However, I'm confident no one in our city is ready or willing to cohabitate with rats and the consequences that they bring. Now for the good news, because there is some good news. All of our research leads us back to one highly effective and logical solution: community education and engagement, and a lot of it. It takes a village and everyone's cooperation to control our rat problem. We have planned a family-friendly community workshop. Our goal is to educate citizens on how to prevent and responsibly control rats. The workshop will be held on February 10th at the Senior Citizen Center. There will be activities for kids to teach them the important role wildlife plays in our environment and how to preserve their existence. We are all very excited about this event and believe it can make a huge difference in our community. By now, I am sure you are all eager to learn how the city can help with this movement. Here's 3 ways your support will help tremendously. Advertise the February 10th workshop on the city's website and social media platforms, and please encourage everyone to attend. Consider a special trash pickup in spring. I hope the city is as passionate about this movement as we are. If anyone has questions, please call me directly at 248-891-0548. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bills. Yes, I see a hand in the far back. Yes, the one waving. Perfect.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Happy holidays to all of you. Come here tonight just quietly in support of the community activism that Jan Coppola-Bills has started.
So sorry, Joe, we're going to need your name.
Oh,
and,
my
address.
name and address, my sincere apologies. Joel Hirschhorn, 4509 Hampton Boulevard, 48073. Again, going backwards, I'm here in support of Ms. Coppola-Bills. I think, again, citizens getting engaged and participating, educating everybody, and exposing the merits of participating, not depending on the city to do something on their behalf, but actually getting everybody talking to one another and taking part is outstanding. I'd like to thank her for her efforts thus far. I think you'll find that this will be a very good program, and I think if we get good city support on this, you'll find other things that will come to light as well. There's already talk of community activism for tree planting. So we can move forward in the spring, enhancing our canopy, replacing our canopy. I personally want to do one in the memory of my father. I know there's other people in the city who would like to do similar memories of departed relatives, just the sake of planting a tree. There doesn't need to be a special occasion, but that would be my personal motivation. I'm sure there are others that would share with that spirit. Also in the season of giving this evening, I would like to also, I know Normandy Oaks is a hot button and it's coming up next meeting. we do a lot of citizen award and applause and whatnot. I hope it's already on your mind, but if you're not already thinking of honoring Mr. Mike Rapinski, I think we would be remiss. Mr. Rapinski is head of that Normandy Oaks Task Force. I think he's done it with great maturity, candor. He has survived a changeover of a commission, as we know, and still done a really nice job of, forgive my phrase, herding kittens. Everybody in the city has an opinion of what we want there, what we'd like to see there. You can't make everybody happy. I think he's doing a great job showing leadership, discipline, quiet candor, and guiding this forward the way it needs to be done. And I think we owe it to him in support to honor him when this is all said and done. And I thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Marie Churchill. My husband and I, Roger, have lived in Royal Oak for 41 years. Our address is 1426 Hickory Avenue. And I'm reading this on behalf of Elizabeth Shunk, who is a Royal Oak resident for 29 years, and she wasn't able to be here tonight, and she wanted to give her comments about the citizens' movement for the rat control. Everyone loves nature and enjoying the benefits of spending time around our beautiful city. However, not everyone is aware of the small, day-to-day changes we can all make to greatly impact the health and well-being of our environmental community. This is why I am passionate and excited to support and contribute to our family-friendly workshop. While seemingly small, a neighborhood has and does actually add up to a larger environmental picture with farther-reaching impacts than imaginable. There are many small changes our community can implement in the way we maintain our homes, refuge, and natural spaces around us to positively impact our interconnected natural communities. The small day-to-day changes, excluding poisons, can lead to larger positive changes in predatory animal populations for residents of Royal Oak. We are sure the citizens of Royal Oak would like the opportunity to make these positive changes to the natural world, but are unsure where to start. Our family-friendly community workshop on February 10th at the Senior Citizens Center will provide the necessary tools and solutions to our existing rat problem. We will provide the residents of Royal Oak with a plethora of educational resources to improve their environmental stewardship skills. With the support and encouragement from the city, we are confident we can help the community to continue its positive growth of responsible stewardship of the natural world around us. By empowering our citizens, we will continue into the future knowing that we are building a better future for our children and sowing the seeds of a brighter future. Thank you for your time. And Merry Christmas to you all.
Yes, over here, sir.
Tony Snow. I live at 343 West Harrison, and I'm here commenting on the West Harrison, Washington apartment development that's proposed for that corner. I spoke with the Planning Commission, but I have some new information that I think, and I'm speaking, asking you to reconsider the parking variance that they're asking for. And I have some new information that I think will add some new light into this, that maybe you can take a second look at this and look at it seriously. I put together a plaque of the streets out there, and moving left to right, you can see where there's a lot of no parking on the north side of Harrison and the north side of Parent. There's also no parking on the west side of Lafayette, South Lafayette. You can see that there's multi-families in that little square block with that development. There's 5 of them. In those multi-families, there's 25 cars that need to park on the street that don't have parking in that multi-developments. They're 1920s, so they didn't plan for that back then. And so we've got 25 cars on the block. And there's no secret that Royal Oak has a parking problem in the downtown area, and what I'm referring to the downtown is from 11 Mile till about Lincoln. South of Lincoln, it's tight around this block, but it's not unmanageable right now. If you go down Harrison or Parent late in the night or in the morning, you'll find that most of the spots are taken up. And I think it's important when we get these high-density developments to not create a parking problem around them. This is the first, if I'm familiar with Royal Oak, as I'm familiar with Royal Oak, the first high-density apartment south of Lincoln. 855 went in, but they have over 100 spots there. I think it's 110 or 20, and they have 48 units. So they have ample parking for their apartment dwellers. I forgot to put on my glasses here. There's also noted on here, no garage on some of the lots. And there's a single driveway going in, but there's 2 cars there, so most of those people park across the street or right in front of their own homes. They don't want to switch cars around, so that's what they're parking on in front of their own home. And most of the time they can achieve that. I've been a landlord for close to 30 years, and there's a couple of truths in running apartments. When you have a 2-bedroom apartment, you have 2 people. 98% of the time you have 2 people, and with 2 people come 2 cars. That's a given in apartments. With a 1-bedroom or studio, you have 1 car, typically. About 20% of the time, the 1-bedroom will have 2 people in it, usually a couple, usually a married couple. This proposed development has 26 units. If you compare that, and I guess I should back up and say, as you build new apartment complexes, most of your units, 70 to 80%, will be 2-bedroom. And there's a reason behind that. 2 bedrooms deliver the revenue that you need to pay mortgages, pay the snow shoveling, the maintenance man, whatever. 855 has 48 units. They only have 12 1-bedrooms. The rest of them are 2 bedrooms. They have to have those to succeed in that development. That brings in the revenue. If you take that percentage out and equate it to this proposal, 20 of those units will be 2 bedrooms. And I don't think the developer has told us how many of each are going to be in there. That's 40 spots. They have 36. Automatically, you've got 4 cars on the street, plus the other 6 units there. Now you've got 10 cars on the street. A new development that I've heard about, and I believe it's true, this developer also controls the Buttons property. That's twice this size. So instead of 8 cars on the street, if he wants to use this as a template, there's going to be 24 to 30 cars on this one block. That is going to create a major issue. That, along with not talking about the company that comes with that or guests that come over. We also have the zoo in the summer months. When they have an activity, there's people parking up and down Lafayette. I know my time's up, and I'll hurry up. Thank you. And that's another issue with parking in the summertime, which I think is the main issue. So I'm asking you to take another hard look at this. I've got a handout that has this on it, so you can take a look at it, at this parking issue for this development. And we don't want to create that parking problem like we have in downtown Royal Oak here. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Tim Luke, 305 Mount Vernon. I came tonight to express part concern and part support of both Kim and Randy is being added to this group. I'm a little concerned, yes, or when I read the minutes of the meeting, your last meeting, when you changed the procedures of this group to require 3 of you to put something on the addendum. I want to say something to all of you. There are people watching. This is no longer just your group. You guys work for the city. I'm a resident of this city, and I would certainly give you the respect you deserve if you respect the people that are here. Randy and Kim, good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Luke. Who's next? I see a hand back there. Yep, waving. Oh, Mr. Skinner.
Hello, my name is Mike Skinner, 130 East Sunnybrook here in Royal Oak. I want to congratulate everyone for the recent election, and I thank all of you for your public service. I am here to talk about sidewalks tonight. You might have guessed that I have fought hard for the sidewalks, that Mr. Gillum has done a good job in court, and we have a fight going on, which could continue for a long time, but I always try to resolve things with my businesses and with my family in a way that's subtle and that makes sense for everyone, and that I hate the fact that all the residents are putting money together to fight the city, and the city's using our money to fight us back. But we want to continue to fight, and we will continue to fight. And for over a long time, can't quote how many years it's been, that there's been exemptions on the north side. We fought hard for these exemptions. They've came about, and we have a new group of people up here. And out of all the city commissions that have been up here and voted, there was only one that voted against those exemptions. And I'm not convinced that the idea was good for the city, good for the homeowners, or good for anyone involved. And I am asking that you reconsider and look at this again and take another vote with the new commission. History has it that the commissions have voted with the people, not against the people, and I feel that's what's happened in the past, and I would really like you to relook at it, that we're at a point right now that because of the legal situation, it could go to tax court, but we're raising money. We're going to continue to fight this all the way through, and it's a huge cost to us, but it could be a huge cost to the city and the citizens, because I have 69 people that are involved today who are affected by your changes and your rulings. But over the last 4 months, when I've been out there talking to a lot more people, there's a lot more people that are interested in this, and a lot more people that have asked me to take their voice and go forward. And I don't think it's good for the city. I don't think it's good for the homeowners, and I hope that you will reconsider it in putting on agenda. As Mr. Luke had just mentioned, too, that I do think it's over the past that in the beginning that there took one commissioner to be able to put something on the agenda. And now it's 2, or was 2, and now it's 3. And I feel that it really does a disservice to yourselves, to us, to not be able to let people with different minds in smaller groups, and I don't care if it's Randy or Kim, who recently are have been voted in, or Shar and yourself, the mayor, that want to do it, that there are some issues that need to be heard. And by requiring 3 people, what will it be, 4 if someone else gets elected, or 5? Where does it stop? And it's, we have to look at history and see where we've been and not change everything. And I think it's fair, I think it's honest, and I think you should reconsider that as well. And I'm going to do my homework, and I haven't done it yet, to see what other city commissions are, and I'll be here every week that you're meeting to keep talking about these issues until they're done. So I wish everyone good luck. I know how hard it is to be a public servant. I've learned a lot in the last 4 months, and I appreciate the work that you do, although I disagree with many things. But I want my voice to be heard. I want other people's voices to be heard. And I really, really would like you to reconsider the vote on the sidewalks. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner. Anybody else? I see a hand. Yes, sir.
My My name is Robert Hess. My wife and I are the homeowning residents at 335 West Harrison Avenue. I'm not going to speak very long. I just want to say that I support Mr. Tony Snow's argument about the parking in the neighborhood, and I would strongly urge you to reconsider that. I'm against any parking variance. Thank you. And Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? All right, we're going to bring the meeting back up here. That concludes public comment, which brings us to item number 6, the approval of the agenda. We do have one recommendation from staff to change the wording of item number 3 to ratification of firefighters local 431 tentative agreement, nixing the word possible. Commissioner Douglas?
I would so move.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Dubuck. Okay, any discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. The agenda is approved. So that brings us to item number 7, the consent agenda, which consists of the 48th City Commission meeting minutes from November 27th, the 49th City Commission meeting minutes from November 27th, claims December 5th and December 8th, approval of purchase orders, declaration and disposal of surplus property, Finance Department request to fill vacancy, purchasing agent, City Manager's request to fill vacancy, Management Analyst, Grants Coordinator, approval of derivative logo icons update, award of professional engineering services for Public Library Façade investigations, contract modification to contract CAP 1630, special assessment paving improvements, and contract modification to contract CAP 1715, asphalt resurfacing improvements, grant of easement for public water main west of Alicia Lane, and proposed settlement marine shale processor site. Is there a motion? Commissioner Dubuck, is there support? Commissioner Douglas. Discussion. With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. This brings us to item number 8, Michigan Liquor Control Commission license establishment request. We'll start with item number A, Chief O'Donohue.
Mayor,
Speaking
City
House.
Commission, we have a request to change the plan of operation. This request stems from a transfer of ownership. We received a request from Peking Holding Company, LLC, to transfer the ownership of the Class C license and accompanying permits for the Peking House located at 215 South Washington. If you recall, MLCC regulations no longer require local government approval for a transfer of ownership. However, Royal Oak City ordinances do require the City Commission approve the new plan of operation. If approved, Peking House will continue to operate as a traditional Chinese family-friendly restaurant. The transfer of the license will appear seamless to the general public. They'll continue to offer lunch, dinner menus, appetizers, soups, full-course Chinese meals. They're actually retaining the same management team. They will continue to use their entertainment and dance permits. They have signed updated permits. We have those already. Our findings indicate the applicants meet the requirements necessary to be granted this request, and we have no objection. The applicants have been told they will need to comply with all planning, zoning, building requirements, and restrictions.
Any questions for Chief O'Donohue? Commissioner Dubuck.
Thanks, Chief. Just want to confirm, it says your research into the new owner shows that in their other operations in the state, they've had no issues? You've
Correct.
contacted those departments?
Yes, we check with the agencies where they're located. One in Rochester Hills, and the other one is in Petoskey.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dubuck. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Macy. Commissioner Dubuck.
As the chief said, this is just a seamless transfer of an existing license and an existing establishment. It's going to be run nearly the exact same way. The new incoming operator seems to have a good track record. So happy to support the transfer.
Okay.
I believe the applicants are here.
The applicant's here. Would you like to say anything? Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I am Linda Mayer. I'm from Vacancy, Need, Allen, and Rentrop, and I am here tonight with Darren Artesian, representing the owner.
Hello, Mayor, Commissioners. Darren Artesian, asking for this permission for the license to be transferred.
Okay. Any questions for the petitioner? None? Commissioner Dubak?
Sure. I just wondered if you want to take the opportunity to elaborate on anything the chief had said about how you plan to run the operation.
We're going to be acting as the owner. The existing team that's been running the Peking House will continue on, so there'll be no change in management.
So not even staff and management?
Not in staff as all.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Perush?
We ordered dinner from you guys for takeout over the weekend because we just didn't feel like cooking, and it's great as always. So we're glad you're going to continue the same operation, the same team. We have lots of leftovers too, because you can never eat the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just add good luck. I mean, Peking House is a staple in Royal Oak, and we wish you the best of luck with the same endeavor, but under new ownership. I'm not sure how to craft that into a motivating phrase, but I think you get the gist. All right, with no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion passes. Congratulations.
Next, okay, Mayor and City Commission, we have almost an identical request. This one from Old Detroit City Grill LLC, requesting transfer of ownership of the tavern liquor license and accompanying permits located at 410 South Main, which is the old Burgers, which is the old Rebel Cafe. They will be doing business as Old Detroit City Grill. However, all other aspects of the operation will be identical. If you recall, this was a redevelopment license that was approved under our bistro concept, so this license can't be moved to a different location, but they can change ownership. This one, their liquor license only goes till midnight, but they'll stay open till 3 to continue to offer food after that, but not alcohol. The applicants do have a number of other locations. We've checked, they're outlined in the memo. We've checked it with their locations, although they had 2 violations, they were just for failing to provide proof of successful completion of alcohol training programs. Our findings indicate that the applicants do meet the requirements of the police department. We have no objection to this request.
Do you have any questions for the chief? Okay. Is the petitioner here tonight?
I'm still in there, but representing the Old Detroit City Grill, also with Victor and their owners, who can speak to any of your questions about concept.
Yeah. What can we expect, gentlemen? Do you mind? You don't have to. You're not obligated to, but if you indulge, we'd be grateful.
Well, I'm the owner of the Old Detroit Burger Bar. Our closest locations are in Troy and Clawson, and then we have 8 others in Oakland County. So we'll try to provide the same service, atmosphere as we do at the other locations.
Similar menu?
Similar menu.
Okay. Any questions for the petitioner? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we have a proposed resolution. Commissioner Perush?
I'll move approval of the resolution.
We have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Douglas. All right, Commissioner Perush.
I think they do a fine operation. They have been well received in other communities. I see no reason why we shouldn't approve this.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'll just echo that. You know, and good luck. Welcome to Royal Oak.
A pleasure to be here, guys. We have a lot of friends in the Royal area, and we're excited to be here.
When's the open date?
Shortly after Christmas. Yeah.
Shortly after Christmas.
Hopefully the day after Christmas, so.
Okay, good. For all of you here and watching on TV, check it out after Christmas, hopefully. No pressure now. All right, with no further discussion, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. Congratulations. Welcome. All right.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Take care.
See you later.
This brings us to arguably the most exciting element of tonight's agenda. The acceptance of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017 financial audit and comprehensive annual financial reports, CAFR. I know all of you have been waiting here patiently. We have John Maiden here to help us with this as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rudd first to kick this topic off.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Commissioners. Yes, this is a request for the City Commission to accept the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017, not only the CAFR, but the audit report and the single audit, which relates to our CDBG grant program. The Audit Review Committee met late November, and they unanimously accepted the reports. And as the mayor mentioned, Chairman Maton is here, as well as the senior manager from Raymond, Ms. Kasparik, and also Mr. DeCamp is here to answer any questions. Before I open it up for any questions, I just want to mention the auditors did issue an unmodified report, which is the best report that we could get. And the commission letter, I did add some items, some noteworthy items as well, but I'll just leave it at that for now. And if you have any questions between the four of us, so hopefully we can answer those for you.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Rudd? Okay, no questions for Ms. Rudd. All right. Mr. Maiden, as the chair, do you have anything you'd like to add or contribute?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the Finance Department for doing their usual fine job, and looking at every year for the last several years, they've won the award for financial reporting with this report. And of course, for Riemann for the fine job they do in kind of leading us through this fun-filled, rollicking meeting of walking through the budget and their audit of it. So thank you to Julie and her team.
And thank you for your service, Mr. Maiden. Are you just looking for a resolution, or are we going to do?
Yes, please, unless you have questions.
All right. Commissioner Dubuck.
I'll move for the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dubuck. Is there support? Support. Supported by Commissioner Levasseur. Commissioner Dubuck.
Sure, I just echo the comments. Thanks again to the entire finance team for the excellent job that they're doing on behalf of our city. This, as far as I can tell, is an excellent report.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Good work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Perush.
For those members of the public who really want to read these reports, are they going to be, and there are some, are they going to be available on the website?
Yes, they are.
Are they under, where are they on the website? That's always a question.
Well,
How
either
do I
through
find them?
this evening's agenda,
Yeah.
or they can get the CAFR through the Finance Department's location on the website. But if they want the all the documents, through this evening's agenda.
Okay, all right, thanks.
And if you really want to read a lot, you can see the last 10 years of them.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yeah, I'll just conclude. I had the privilege of listening in for a little bit. Commissioner Levasseur had it handled, at the Audit Review Committee. So I took off around 8:30, but I've attended a number of them. And we jest and joke about these things, but it's probably one of the single most important documents that the city relies on to do its business and to communicate what it's doing to our residents. And I'd like to commend both Riemann, the committee, as well as the fine work that our finance department does under the leadership of Ms. Rudd, and preparing something that, quite frankly, to me, being a finance person, reads very well. And there's a lot of information in there because we do a lot of things in this city, but it's nice to see that, when we finally get them, the CAFR is done, and we have an unmodified opinion that proves testament to the strength of our finance department, and we should all be grateful because, decisions are important, and how we reflect them financially are equally as important. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, this brings us to item number 10, Planning Commission recommendation to rezone the southwest corner of South Washington and West Harrison Avenues. Second reading. I think I saw Mr. Murphy out of the corner of my eye.
Correct.
I did indeed.
Good evening. At your November 13th meeting, you adopted the first reading in order to rezone the southwest corner of Washington and Harrison from mixed use to planned unit development, and also had associated with it the site plan, which is to construct a 3-story multiple family building with 26 units and 36 off-street parking spaces on the ground floor. The reason it's not on the consent item agenda tonight is that there was not a unanimous vote. Former Commissioner Marley did not vote in support of the item at the November 13th meeting, so it's not on the consent item agenda tonight. The Planning Commission did hold 2 public hearings at their August and at their October meetings, and they recommended approval. You'll see a motion included for your approval if you choose to approve this on second reading tonight.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Murphy? Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Murphy, as I recall, Commissioner Marley's concern was his ongoing concern that he wants, he preferred all street level development to have like retail. Is that my remembrance of this one?
It was more of a form-based code aspect that he was looking for, having a more active use on the ground floor versus parking. The Planning Commission did have quite an extensive conversation with the petitioner and their architect to do modifications to the facade of the front facade along Washington Avenue to help achieve some type of storefront appeal or look.
So in his view, there wouldn't have even been the first level parking necessarily.
Correct. I'll go on an assumption and say I think his greater concern was the use versus the actual design elements.
Right. So was there any discussion of parking? My understanding is there is not a parking variance involved here.
Well, it's a planned unit development, and as you'll see on the second page of your report, there are a number of items listed that are deviations from our zoning ordinance. And through this particular avenue, this approval process, the planned unit development, it allows the Planning Commission and ultimately you, the City Commission, in order to grant the petitioner the deviations as highlighted from the zoning ordinance, whereas traditional process or another process would be to go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals and seek waivers from them. So, no, the petitioner has not met all of the standards, and those deviations are noted in the report.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lavasser.
The reason for the change in zoning, is it primarily because of the parking issue, or is there some other reasons?
There are a variety of others. They relate to a lot of the items the deviations that you do see. Height, use, density, setbacks. So there are quite a few things that it deviates from our zoning standards. And so they have elected to choose this approval process in order to move forward with this project.
Okay, the current zoning would require 52 parking spaces?
It would be 2 parking spaces per unit.
All right, and right now there's 26
Yes.
proposed, so we'd
Yes.
be at 52.
Correct.
All right. Was there a parking study or anything done to determine how this would impact the neighborhood?
Not by the staff. Perhaps the petitioner would be able to share some information for you.
Thank you.
Is the petitioner available so we can
Commissioner
address
Gibbs?
that issue?
Commissioner, you can have a seat. We'll get to you. Sorry. Do you have a question?
Well, my concern is also the parking. We've already spoke about the parking issues in and around downtown. Also, how many floors is this building?
It's 3.
3 floors, okay. And there are primarily 2 stories in that area?
There are a variety.
Floors, I should say?
There are a variety. The zoning ordinance allows for a maximum height of 3 feet. And I believe the building that they're proposing is a little over 39 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Murphy? Okay, the petitioner's here.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Gabe Rubin. This is Albert Ludwig. We're here from Selective Acquisition and Development Company. Once again, thank you for having us, and any questions that you have, we'd be more than happy to answer.
Any questions for the petitioner? Commissioner Lavasser.
Mr. Snow indicated that you own the property or control the property just to the south of this planned development. Is that accurate?
That is true.
Have you considered using some of that for additional parking?
At this time, that's not something that we've considered. We've spent a considerable amount of time going through this process and working with our architects and revising plans. And to answer your previous question regarding the parking study, yes, we did hire a third-party parking and traffic study company, Fleece Vanderbrink, to provide us with a parking and traffic study as to how this development would affect traffic and parking in the immediate area.
Commissioner Gibbs.
Was the planning department provided with that study?
Absolutely.
Because to my recollection, we have not seen it. Would we be able to view that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I provided it to the planning department prior to, I think, the first meeting that we ever had.
Okay.
Any other questions? Commissioner Macy.
Could you summarize the results of the study?
Sure. One item that it does point out is our particular target market is millennials. Millennials don't drive as many cars. They take more public transportation. They walk more. They live a different lifestyle than the previous generation of garden apartments where every person had a car. And this target market in not just Royal Oak, but in other communities, doesn't drive as much, and they rely on other modes of transportation more. But I'll let Gabe respond to your other question.
In addition to what Albert just mentioned, I don't know if any of you guys have had a chance to review the very detailed third-party target housing market study that I believe you guys hired a third party to conduct. It's a very interesting analysis, and it provides a considerable amount of detail. And essentially, it summarizes what Albert said, is that a lot of the demographic that we're seeking to target they do not have two cars, and the Uber and the Lyfts and using their bikes or walking, as this is a walkable community. They essentially, to summarize the analysis, is that there is not a need for two cars anymore. And essentially, the study that we had completed by Fleece Vanderbrink, it essentially said the same thing, that there are 26 units that we're proposing. The Royal Oak zoning ordinance is 2 spaces per unit, which is 52. The IT parking generation average peak period parking demand on weekdays is 1.2 spaces per unit, and then on weekends it is 1.03 spaces. And what we are proposing is 1.47 spaces, a total of 38, which is above the both weekday and weekend average number of spaces that Fleece Vanderbrink concluded.
Okay.
Please. This particular consultant also happens to work for several communities. They're not just private developer consultant. They work for several communities around town. We work with them and against them or along with them when they're working for other communities. So they're not just saying this, they're not just developers' reps. They represent boards and commissions like yours.
Okay. Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. So to clarify, you did hire an independent party to do a parking study, and that parking study shows that what you're proposing is actually a little bit more than necessary. Correct. So we've heard a lot about parking studies here over the last few months.
Right.
And you have one.
Yes.
And this is the data that came from it.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Gibb, question?
Will your leases and/or sale agreements provide that certain tenants and/or purchasers will only be able to have one vehicle?
That I am,
And I realize you're targeting the millennials, and I realize that, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate your condensing the parking study for us. But again, what if a millennial doesn't move in there? Or what if several millennials don't move in there? Are you going to have some sort of parking restriction? Or will they be able to purchase parking spots?
no, this is,
Kind of like New York City?
no, this is a for-rent apartment building.
Okay.
In regards to, specifics on the parking and, we're gonna be hiring a management company that is also one of the partners involved in this development. They manage, I believe, 11 residential apartment communities in Royal Oak very effectively, efficiently, and I really don't see that being an issue. And just to give you some details in regards to the unit mix, what we're currently proposing is our 20 one-bedroom units, and 6 two-bedroom units.
Okay. Thank you for adding that in.
All right, gentlemen, we'll take the meeting back up here. Thank you. If we need to call you back up for some questions, we will.
Thank you.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to move approval of the PUD on second reading.
We have a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there support? Support. Supported by Commissioner Dubak. Commissioner Douglas.
Yes, thank you. As the gentleman said, we at the Planning Commission heard from them not once but twice on this development. They pointed out correctly that the target market analysis that the city conducted says that there is tremendous demand by millennials, people in that cohort, for housing of this type in our area. And they presented the results of their traffic study, which we on the Planning Commission found to be satisfactory. The mixture of their unit sizes, 1 bedroom versus 2 bedrooms, supports those assertions as well. I'll also speak to, just because Mr. Murphy mentioned it, the development of this area of the city. And as we go through a master planning process in the coming year, I think this is an area that will get a lot of intense study because the nature of demand for land there is changing and the different types of uses are coming. Right now, it's a mixed-use area, and we do want mixed use down there. I mean, I believe the master planning process will bear out that assertion, and while we want mixed use there, that doesn't mean that every building has to be mixed use. So certainly residential use on this piece of land is very appropriate. I do hope that as you look at the property next to it, you consider options other than residential, just to add to the richness of this part of the city.
Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. Any other discussion? Commissioner Macy?
I have to admit that when I first looked at this, I was not hugely in favor of it. First of all, I agree with former Commissioner Marley that I would prefer to see retail on that first floor. And also I did the same math that Mr. Snow did and thought this is not nearly enough parking spaces. So those were the concerns that I had coming in, but this discussion has been very helpful for me at least. I guess on the one hand, if I'm concerned about the parking, I can't both be concerned about that and want the first floor to be retail. If the first floor is parking, that solves part of the problem that I have with this. And then, to me, the parking study, which is something that we are constantly looking for and talking about, is have we done the math? Have we seen if this will work? And they did do the math. And to me, it seems like it's been done twice over tonight, once by the required spaces on the weekdays and the weekends, and then also if it's 20 single units and 6 two bedrooms, then 36 covers that. And I agree that there will be a strain at sometimes when they have parties, but that's true everywhere we go. So I will be voting for this after the discussion here today.
Commissioner Lavasser?
I'm concerned with this, in that, given the zoning in this location right now, this proposal comes up short 16 parking spaces. I'm not comfortable that the surrounding neighborhood has been properly considered. I'm very concerned with the impact this would have on the residential neighborhood that's right behind it. I can't support it as it stands right now.
Anybody else? Yeah, I'll just add, sitting on the Planning Commission, I mean, I hear the concerns related to parking. You know, I think, in my opinion, I share similar sentiments as Mayor Pro Tem Douglas. I'd also add, I think, when you look at it, it's the property owner that first, the landlord in this particular development, that first bears the risk of a perceived shortage of parking. I mean, simply people that have 2 cars aren't going to be attracted to the property, and therefore they're not going to lease it. What you'll find is that people that you know, use alternative modes of transportation, have one singular family car, if they're going to cohabitate together, they're the ones that are going to be attracted to moving here. They're going to be attracted for a couple reasons, because one, they want to be in a vibrant downtown area, and transportation is secondary to them. And I think as the concern relates to parking in the surrounding neighborhoods and taking away parking from others, you know, we've seen a number of cases where we've instituted permit parking on the streets. I don't foresee this being a significant issue given the trends that, you know, I'll employ some personal bias here, that we see in the automotive industry, but also what we're seeing in Royal Oak. We've seen a lot of successful projects that, you know, quite frankly, you know, have lower parking spaces compared to what, you know, the standard, perceived standard should be. So I don't believe that, I think any burden that comes from it, if there is a burden, if these people actually have 2 cars instead of 1, are they going to park their car, you know, 8 blocks away? Maybe. But if there's a balloon issue going on, we can certainly address that through the permit parking process if the neighbors so petition. Also, too, we have a number of garages that, you know, people can get permits for if they do have a second car, and, you know, walk to that garage a few blocks and then drive back and forth. It's not ideal for some of us that may want to have a car right outside our doorstep, but for people that are going to be leasing this, that's not a key priority to them. Being in an awesome, vibrant, active downtown is what is drawing them, and I think the burden, again, lies on the landlord to be able to lease the property. So I'll be supporting it, and you know, that's my thought. So if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Can I see a hand of the nays? Okay, 2. I thought I heard 3. Okay. Motion passes. Good luck, gentlemen. All right, this brings us to item number 11, approval of International Fire Code of 2015, first reading. Mr. Gillum.
Mr. Mayor, I'll lead this off anyway. Every 3 years, the International Code Council develops the International Fire Code, which is a model code that communities are free to adopt, and also the communities have the option to make any modifications to the code as they see appropriate to fit the particular needs of their community. So what you have in front of you tonight is a proposed ordinance that would adopt the 2015 International Fire Code, which is the most current version of the fire code that's been published or printed at this point in time, with the modifications that have been represented by the staff over at the fire department. Chief Cummins is here to answer any technical questions that you have about any of the proposed amendments to the fire code or the fire code itself. I would specifically acknowledge all the work that the chief and in particular Fire Marshal Blevins put in terms of putting this ordinance together and going through and reviewing the amendments to the existing code that are in place, figuring out which ones should be carried over and which new amendments should be made. But we would recommend approval of the proposed ordinance on first reading tonight.
Do we have any legal questions for Mr. Gillum or any technical questions for Chief Cummins? Chief Cummins, anything to add?
I just want to echo what Mr. Gillum said. Fire Marshal Blevins put in a lot of time and effort into this. Pardon me, time and effort into this, and I think his work, it shows how much he cares about it and how much work he put into it. He did a really nice job, and it's always nice when your people bring solutions and no problems. That's what he said. This needs to happen. Here's the answer.
Perfect.
It was perfect.
All right. I think we have a proposed resolution. Commissioner Macy.
I'd like to move the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Douglas. Commissioner Macy?
This makes sense.
Very concise. Any other discussion? All right, again, I think all of us here share the same gratitude for the hard work of our fire department, fire marshal, and we thank you for your continued efforts to keep us safe. So with that, with no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes.
Commissioners, this will come back for second reading at next week's meeting.
Okay, perfect. This brings us to item number 12 on the agenda, amendment to the appointments ordinance, first reading. Mr. Gillum?
Mayor and city commissioners, there was discussion at our last city commission meeting about potential amendments to the appointments ordinance. The appointments ordinance currently provides that if it's possible, that commission appointments to standing boards and committees should be rotated at the end of each term of the city commission, and in fact specifically requires the appointments be rotated after 2 terms of the city commission. The discussion that took place at the commission table was to direct my office to prepare a potential amendment to the ordinance that would treat appointments of city commissioners to boards and commissions the same as the appointments of citizens to the boards and commissions are concerned. And what the ordinance provides in terms of those appointments is that the commission does have the discretion to allow appointments to last longer than the terms that are provided in the ordinance if there is either someone who isn't qualified to take the spot of the current appointee, or if there are other circumstances that are considered special circumstances as determined by the city commission. So the proposed ordinance, if approved, would amend the appointments ordinance to allow the commission to continue appointments of sitting city commissioners if the commission makes a specific finding that there is no one qualified to take that appointee's spot, or if there are other special circumstances that exist that would support the continuance of the existing member on that particular board or committee. If you have any questions, I can try to answer those. I provided with you a strikeout copy, a strikeout language of the changes to the ordinance, so they would be as clear as possible. But again, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
I have questions for Mr. Gillum. Commissioner Lavasser.
Mr. Gillum, reading this, what would be your expectation if there's such a resolution? That would it be very specific as to the reasons why not to rotate, or is it just a generic we so find, and there would be no specificity there?
I would expect that the resolution finding that there were special circumstances that existed would indicate what those circumstances were. So, yeah, I don't think it would be sufficient to say we find that there are special circumstances. I think those circumstances would need to be identified in the motion.
All right, and that would be with regard to whether it's the first prong, which is no one else qualified, or the second prong, which references other special circumstances.
Yeah, I think
a resolution based upon someone not being qualified, I think, could bear some additional specificity. But in particular, just to say that what the special circumstances are, I think under the second prong, I think an even more detailed motion would be appropriate.
Okay. Commissioner Dubak?
So then would this cover a circumstance, such as, we discussed a couple weeks ago about Commissioner Douglas being uniquely qualified to serve on planning? Would that constitute, in a way that satisfies this ordinance, a special circumstance?
Potentially, yeah. There's still the related issue that I'm going to report back to you on next week as to whether or not the State Planning Act overrides or supersedes this particular ordinance. But if it didn't, yeah, I think the qualification issue would be addressed by this particular amendment, yes.
The issue that we discussed about Commissioner Perush and the background and the education and the learning that's been going on in the commission that she's been serving on. Would that would constitute a special circumstance?
Potentially, yes. If the commission made that finding, yes.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner Perush?
And hopefully I can do this without coughing. And I think the intent too is to apply this amendment on a going forward basis. We're certainly not going to go back and undo, appointments and so on that were made a week or two ago. This is, at least it's my intent, that this would only apply on a going forward basis. We're not going to backtrack on anything. So, and I concur with Mr. Gillum that you just can't say, well, we really think that this person should stay in this position, that the language of the ordinance as it's been applied to non-commission appointments is pretty specific. You have to find some specific circumstances that apply in that specific situation to deviate from the requirements in the ordinance. And I think we've done that consistently, and I think this just makes it consistent with the ordinance as we've applied it to non-commission members.
Okay, Commissioner Dubak?
Sure, yeah. So, need a motion for first reading, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Motion to approve the proposed ordinance on first reading, that's correct.
I have an amendment, but so I'd like to, one of my primary concerns here is this still requires the beginning every 2 years, correct? It forces rotation every 2 years unless these circumstances are met?
I think the normal practice of the commission has been to make the appointments or reappointments every time a new commission is seated. So I think that would be the
So it requires that
continued
they be
practice.
shuffled around again.
Yes.
So my concern is, and I raised it a couple weeks ago, we currently have term limits on citizen appointments that I believe are unique to each individual committee in some cases, but they're two 2-year terms or 3 2-year terms in some cases are the term limits on those committees. Is that correct? I'm certain it's not 2 years, because we would be rotating, there'd be a lot more rotation going on.
Let me double check the ordinance itself.
So, well, while you look, I mean, I'm certain that I know there's term limits that are several 2-year, sessions that people are allowed to serve for. I'm concerned that, while someone serves, a 4-year term and they get reelected, someone develops expertise on a committee, and just when they're getting really, really productive and able to produce on that committee and be a leader on that committee and help that committee produce valuable work for the city, every 2 years, then we're forcing them off onto a new committee. And I feel like there's great value in a sitting commissioner being able to bring institutional memory and serve as a true liaison by representing that committee and what it does at the table and having a true understanding of it, which really doesn't happen until after you've been on a committee for a couple of years, really understanding its body of work and its contribution to the community. So given that, I would recommend it mirror what we have, but I don't think there's one standard for our committees, because some of them are created by their own ordinance, some are overseen by the general committee's ordinance, correct?
Correct, yeah, and I understand your question, I apologize. But for citizens that are appointed to committees now, section 1213 of the ordinance is similar to what's here, but it generally limits appointments to 3 consecutive full terms. So I did not put that language in here.
Correct.
Because my sense was that wasn't something the commission wanted to do.
I think what I was looking to do is make sure that folks, and especially in your one term, you have two-year sessions, and it would make sense to allow you to develop expertise on a particular committee. So I would amend this to say, shall rotate, basically that they need to be rotated after someone has served 3 consecutive two-year terms on a committee, then shall be rotated unless these conditions are met.
So instead of saying at the start of each new term, it would be after 3 terms, am I understanding?
So, well, each individual service, so it would, the commissioners have to be rotated off. Basically, we'd be instituting commissioner term limits on any given appointment, except in the case where these conditions are met.
So let me help clarify, Commissioner Dubuck, if I may. What you're suggesting is, instead of the trigger being every 2 years, the trigger is after 3 consecutive terms. That triggers the part of the ordinance that says if there's not a qualified person and/or if there's a special circumstance to continue, then it's triggered after 3 consecutive terms as the individual is assigned to that committee.
Correct. I'm having a hard time.
Similar to what we have with the citizens.
Similar to the citizen appointments, who we want to be able to stay on those committees and serve and develop a body of work and understanding what the committee does, not develop talent and then force it off as soon as it becomes productive. So I would think the same standard should apply here, which the mayor would still be free to shuffle appointments as the mayor sees fit, but would not be compelled to rotate people off of a committee or until they've served 3 consecutive terms on that committee.
So, and I guess implicit in that is the fact that if it's a member of the city commission, then during those 3 terms, at some point, that person would have to be reelected. If we're talking about a 4-year
Correct.
term, so, okay.
I'm presuming that one service on a particular body that they might have served on prior to being elected, that doesn't apply to their limit as a commissioner, which I'm not sure that's clear actually either in the ordinance. Because I served on environmental advisory before I was elected, and I don't know that those would actually count against me or not.
So, Commissioner Dubuck, it sounded like you were making your way towards a motion.
Sorry, yeah, so with that amendment, if my amendment is clear, Mr. Gillum, I would move for passage on 3rd reading.
First reading.
So,
Third
what did I say?
First reading. Wow.
It's not even that late.
I'm sorry.
So Commissioner Dubuck, so we understand, it's, you're making a motion to take the consideration that's in the letter as is today with a modification to state that what triggers it is after 3 consecutive terms, it would trigger the evaluation, whether or not you have somebody who isn't qualified or nobody that is qualified rather, and/or special extenuating circumstances that merit.
The mayor would be free to appoint any given commissioner to up to 3 consecutive terms on one body before being compelled to rotate the representative on that commission unless these conditions are met.
Also with the clarification to make sure that we articulate the fact that if somebody had been serving as a citizen on the committee, that's taken into consideration in the ordinance to not apply to the term limit. So if you were serving on environmental advisory for 2 terms, and then you got elected to the city commission, and then you got appointed to that committee, that wouldn't count as your 3rd term. It would start fresh as a, okay.
My whole intent here is just to make sure that we're allowing commissioners to contribute as greatly as possible to the work of these bodies, which we've had many conversations about how to ensure we're actually empowering these citizen committees to produce, to advise the commission, and to create real value to the community. And I think constantly rotating the commissioners sitting there lessens that impact, especially arbitrarily.
All right.
Point of
So
order.
we have a
Wait, I have a further-
Commissioner Dubuck has a motion on the table. Mr. Gillum, do you understand? Is it clear?
I think I do, yes, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second for the motion?
May I ask a question of
No,
clarity?
After the motion gets put
Okay.
onto the table, we can do that.
Yeah.
We just have a motion on the table right now, which will confuse things if we debate until it dies or there's a second.
I'll support it.
Okay. We have moved by Commissioner Dubuck, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Douglas. Okay, we'll start with the motion maker, and then we'll.
Okay.
So Commissioner Dubuck, I don't know if you have anything more to say on the motion?
I think I've explained it as clear as mud for everybody. Basically, we're just talking about matching the term limits to that of citizens that serve on these committees for the very same reason that we want people to develop expertise and develop that body of work for these committees.
Okay. Commissioner Gibbs.
Now that we've all thoroughly confused each other and everyone sitting in the galley, I think it would be important to put 3 consecutive 2-year terms. And that would be the only clarity that I wanted to suggest.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we can do that within the bounds that the motion has been put forward. Okay. Commissioner Douglas?
Well, I would just ask do we need to clarify how we handle partial terms? Someone gets appointed to complete a term, serves a year, and then is elected to 1, 2, or 3 subsequent 2-year terms. At what point does this trigger?
Mr. Gillum, I think that's still within the boundaries of the motion, the spirit of the motion.
I'd appreciate the clarification, yes.
Okay.
So,
You want
so how do we want to treat partial terms? I guess that's the question I'm throwing back at you, yes, collectively.
Okay, Commissioner Douglas.
Well, if I may, Commissioner Gibbs said 3 2-year terms.
3 consecutive 2-year terms.
So if someone had already served 1 year, they would, by what I interpret that to mean is that they could maybe wind up serving 7 years on a committee. Not that that's a bad thing, but that would, to me, would be the implication of the wording that we're considering here.
Commissioner Dubak.
So my intent would be 3 complete 2-year terms. I think the word complete clarifies, correct? Yeah.
Okay. And the motion supporter agrees with that as their understanding of the motion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We still have the same motion on the table. Mr. Gillum, let me just ask again, do you have clarification?
I believe I do, thank you.
Okay. All right. Further discussion. Commissioner Lavasser.
Well, thank you. The proposed changes to the ordinances drafted by Mr. Gillum, I'm okay with that. The concerns raised by Commissioner DeBuck, though, I really think that those could be addressed through the second provision, the second exception provided by Mr. Gillum, and that is that the commission finds that there's some other special circumstance that supports the reappointment of the serving member. And certainly, I would think that if it's a particular committee where there's a technical expertise, that would be something that the commission consider at that time and make that decision, okay, we're going to bypass the rotation here for that reason. I really don't see the need for Commissioner DeBuck's amendment for the reason that the original draft already has that special circumstance recognized.
Commissioner Macy?
So I have a point of order. Are we voting on the amended ordinance? Not the amendment separately and then the ordinance?
No, so the motion on the table was to take what was contained and prepared by Mr. Gillum, and with a modification to that, the way he's presented it. So we don't have an amendment on the table. We have a motion by Commissioner Dubak that basically says, hey, all of this with the additional language about the 3 consecutive terms, completed consecutive terms to be at parity with the ordinance related to citizen servants.
So if we vote this down, we are done with this, or we're going to have another motion?
Well, if we vote it down, this body is free to make another motion.
Okay.
If they so wish.
Okay, so I tend to agree with Commissioner Lavasser that I think that the way that it's written allows us to continue the appointment of someone if we feel that they have a special circumstance for this. And I also, while I understand Commissioner Dubak's point, I also think that part of being on city commission is being able to experience and learn about the different areas of our city. So while it may be important to gain expertise, it's also important for all the commissioners to gain exposure to different areas of the city. And 6 years seems an awful long time to have just 1 or 2 people appointed to the same committee without some special reason, which we already have an exception for. And if we're making amendments, the amendment that I would have offered was to get rid of there's not a qualified individual available, because I understand how that could be true for citizen committees, but how can that be true for us, that there's not another qualified individual available? I mean, there's 7 of us, we're a captive audience. So that would have been the amendment that I would have made, and I don't know that I can support it with the 3 2-year term. I think that's too long. I think we should be able to rotate more than that.
Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, that wouldn't be mandatory. There would still be an appointments process the city has actually followed for a number of years where commissioners express interest in certain committees, and the mayor recommends appointments. Those appointments are then discussed and debated at this table, and people can either vote up or vote down those recommendations. What I'm saying is instituting an arbitrary maximum of 1 2-year term forces action to actually maintain what's a reasonable status quo, as opposed to letting that be the standard and actually having to take action to change it. It seems to allow people to develop experience and to contribute in a way that they have been working toward in the last, over several years. It makes more sense for that to be the standard as opposed to having to take special action to say, well, Commissioner Macy has done an awesome job for the last 2 years on this committee. I don't know that and has projects in the works that need to be seen through. I don't know that rises to special circumstance. If it is, then the special circumstance provision actually becomes kind of arbitrary and subject to the whims of any given commission that's voting on it. So I would say term limit makes more sense versus forcing arbitrary action.
Point of clarification with Mr. Gillum, nothing prevents in the way the proposal has been made or the way the motion has been made that the mayor, for example, if you had somebody that had, was on a committee for 2 years, it's not mandatory their right to be on there for 6 years or 3 terms. The mayor could appoint somebody different. The privilege of the mayor is still there to appoint whomever, correct?
I don't think any appointee has any vested right to continue on any committee.
Right.
No.
Okay.
No, I think you're absolutely correct.
Commissioner Macy.
I just say again that I think the 3 2-year terms is too long. I would actually feel more comfortable if it were just 2 2-year terms that would be the same length as the length of an election until that commissioner was next elected.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the table. City attorney's clear on what the motion is.
Yes, thank you.
As clear as you can be with 7 opinions that.
I just get a point of clarification. If this motion is supported, would that be considered the first reading?
Yes, that's correct. And we would bring it back for second reading at next week's meeting.
So we have another time to talk about it. All right. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Yay.
No.
Okay, I think I see 1, 2, 3, 4 nays. Okay, the motion fails. Is there another motion someone like to put forward? Commissioner Macy?
Same motion with 2 2-year terms?
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Macy. We have support by Commissioner Dubak. Commissioner Macy, anything more to add?
I mean, I think I said what I wanted to say about this. I think, I do think it's important to gain expertise, but I also think it's important that, I think we should be thinking about having the different commission members gain exposure to these different areas, these different committees.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Dubak?
I was curious if in her motion, Commissioner Macy wanted to pursue her other considered amendment, given that this is now your motion.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Yes, I guess I would. Sorry, Mr. Gillum. So just specifically finance by resolution, and then take out everything between that and then the or. So specifically finance by resolution that some, and then remove other special circumstance exists.
Gotcha. Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, awkwardly designed, that is the previous motion, but instead of 6, 4, or instead of 3, 2 terms, with the removal of some, or clean up some language regarding qualification. Qualified person, otherwise qualified person. My goodness. It's not even 11 o'clock yet. All right, does everyone understand the motion that's on the table? Okay, more importantly, City Attorney David Gillum, do you understand the motion that's on the table?
I think I do, and if I don't, I'm sure you'll let me know next week.
All right, with no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes.
You didn't second it.
Yeah. Commissioner
Oh,
Dubak
you did? Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't hear you.
Okay, this brings us to item number 13, which is the ratification of firefighters local 431 tentative agreement. Mr. Gillum?
Mayor Fournier, I can pick up on this, and I'm sure if Mr. Johnson has anything to add that he will. What you have before you tonight is a tentative agreement that was reached between the city's bargaining team and the bargaining team for the Royal Oak Firefighters Association. An agreement dated October 26th of 2017, subsequently ratified by the firefighters. That's why it's in front of you tonight. The agreement would cover the term of July 1st of 2017 to June 30th of 2020. It contains the same wage package that has been put in place with the city's other bargaining units. That is for each year of the contract, a 2.5% wage increase. There's an extension of the existing agreements between the city and the Firefighters Association regarding staffing levels. There is new promotional language in here. The parties reached an agreement as to the educational requirements, the seniority that would be required in the process for a series of appointments. In particular, significance from the city's standpoint is that the position of Assistant Fire Chief would now be an appointed position that is appointed by the chief with the approval of the city manager, as opposed to something that would be based on seniority. There is also a slight increase in the cap on pensions. The intention there is to try to retain the experienced firefighters at the station. That's a kind of a 1,000 feet in the air view. If you have specific questions, I can try to answer those. But again, we would recommend approval of the tentative agreement.
Any questions for Mr. Gillum? Okay. Commissioner Perush.
I'll move approval of this agreement.
We have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Macy. Commissioner Perush?
I think it's a very fair agreement, and it's certainly in line with the agreements that we've reached with the other bargaining units, so I think it's appropriate.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Douglas?
I'll just say, I'll just thank the firefighters. I understand that this was a very collegial process. You know, both sides had firm opinions and there was give and take. We appreciate the service that they give to our city and the spirit with which this agreement was reached.
All right, I'll just echo those comments and, one, offer, our appreciation to the Local 431 for negotiating in good faith. I mean, there's a reason why Royal Oak is one of the safest cities. There's a reason why, our fire department is one of the most desired places to work. And I think it's the positive, relationship between, the city commission and our Local 431, always finding creative ways to make sure that we have mutually beneficial agreements. And I applaud them for their efforts and, look forward to the future. And again, can't thank them enough for working in good faith and finding, solutions that work for everyone involved. So they work very hard. All right. With no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, we'll get this posted on the website as soon as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Gillen. So that brings us to the end of the agenda. Unless there's any more business for the betterment of our beloved city, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You're looking at me for some reason.
It's my, you know what? It's muscle memory.
I was told last time I did not go long enough in my motion. So let's just say it's 9:06 now, and I'll wrap this up right around 9:35.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the business of the people is complete, so I would so move that we adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lavasser. Is there
I'll
support?
second that.
All right, we have support by Commissioner Gibbs. Any discussion?
Wait. I've just been watching it snow like crazy out over Commissioner Macy's head. So just please everybody be very careful going home tonight. And anybody else who's out there who has to drive, gosh, be really careful.
Maybe we shouldn't leave. If it's snowing.
Let's just do next week agenda now.
There's no food here.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.